Hello, campers, and welcome. This is Paula Swazi coming to you from Wisconsin. And I am so excited today that I get to have an artist hangout with the great bass baritone Eric Owens. And I actually don't know where he's coming to us from, but I'm sure we'll find out. So today, this week, you've been doing all sorts of things about Rusalka, and Eric Owens sang and sings the water nymph in the great Dvorak opera. And I'm really thrilled. Hi, Dancing Cat 2.0. Thanks for joining us. I do want to say to all of our Canadian friends out there, happy Canada Day. It's July 1st, and I know a lot of our video questions come from friends of ours in Canada, so that'll be really fun. We've got lots of questions for Eric. Let's see if we can get him to join me. Maybe we're having a little technical difficulty. Here he is. Hey,
Hi.
welcome.
How are you?
Where are you today?
I'm actually in Houston, Texas.
Wow,
Yeah.
you're all over the place, aren't you?
Yeah, indeed.
Is Houston, that's not your home base, right? Chicago is your home.
Right.
Do you have family in Houston?
I have friends in here, so yeah,
Oh, good.
some friends.
It's nice to get, I know we're in Wisconsin where my husband's family is. It gives us a little more space than New York City where
Indeed.
Yeah. So we love, here's Eva telling us she's seen Eric.
Oh, hi, Eva.
Best. So I love to start these with a 90-second life story. So I put 90 seconds on the clock and you give us a little overview. You know, tell us where you were born, maybe where you grew up. Don't leave any of the important stuff out.
Right.
And then we'll talk. All right.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
Go.
I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm one of two children. I'm the youngest. I have an older brother. I
Uh-oh. Is that me or is that Eric? Nope, I think we lost Eric. Oh, wait, he's back. Stopping the clock, because that wouldn't be fair. Okay, I think we're having some trouble, but hopefully we'll get Eric back because I know we've got lots of great questions for him. Let me tell you guys a couple of things while we wait for Eric's, internet. So I'm going to remind everybody that tomorrow on the Career Corner, we're going to have Mary Zimmerman interviewed by Susan Blackwell. If you have questions, Mary Zimmerman was the director for this Rusalka and has had a long storied theater career. Send in your video questions. It's really fun. We love seeing your faces and it's much more fun. I mean, obviously write them if you need to, but if you can video yourself and send them in, the Google link is on the Google Classroom. So that's where you can send in your questions. And starting today at 5 o'clock Eastern time, so in about 6 hours from now, 6 hours from now, you'll be able to start watching the Rusalka on a free, obviously part of the camp. It's the stream. You get it for 48 hours. Oh, he's back. Yay.
Okay, I'm on my phone now.
I stopped the clock, so you still have all your time. All right, so you were saying you were the youngest of two children.
Yeah, I'm on my phone now because my internet was having problems, but it seemed to be back up. But if this is working, I'll stay with this.
Yeah, I can hear you great, and we can see you. So let's stay.
Okay. All right, so I'm the youngest of two children. I started taking piano lessons when I was 6 years old. And then I played the clarinet for very briefly. Then I was a professional oboist for a time. And I really started singing in my high school choir. Started taking voice lessons when I was 17, when I was a senior. What else? I went on from there to to do an undergrad degree in vocal performance at Temple University in Philadelphia. Then I did my grad school work at the Curtis Institute of Music. And then I was in the Houston Opera Studio for 2 years doing a young artist program there. And then I started my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And you did it in under a minute and a half. So well done.
Okay.
I did not know that first of all, that you were originally from Philadelphia, which is a great city. And I also didn't know that you play piano, clarinet, and oboe, which is super impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Clarinet was very brief, but then oboe was a very big part of my life for a long time.
Christopher is very happy that you made it back to us. All right, so we're going to start with It's Joke O'Clock, and today for our joke o'clock, I brought a friend with me. This is my daughter, Carmela, who is much better at telling jokes than I am. So she's going to read it when we get it up. Here we go. First joke of the day.
Alrighty. Okay, this is from Ella from New York City. It's a great joke. What did the sheep say when the opera was done? Bravo!
Great. That's so funny, Ella. All right, now I think we've got another one here.
This is from Ishan in New Delhi, India. What tone does a piano falling down a mine shaft make?
I don't know.
I don't know either. A flat minor. Very good.
Yes, that is very good. Thank you for those jokes, you guys. All right, well, I'll leave Carmela in the picture. She wants to stay in the picture. But we're going to start with some video questions because I don't know if I've ever had this many video questions submitted. So I think, Eric, you're very popular and we've got lots. So we're going to start with some questions. Dan, you can cue us up for our first video question.
Hi, my name is Diego. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. My question for Eric is, how old were you when you realized you wanted to be an opera singer?
Thanks, great question. So how old were you when you realize you wanted to be an opera singer?
I was I want to say I was 17 or 18.
So when you were in high school, you said you started singing in the choir.
Yeah.
And then your last year, you started taking like actual voice
lessons. Yeah.
And had you listened to a lot of opera by then?
I was an opera fan by the time I was about 8.
Oh.
And so, and I actually, one of my oboe teachers actually played in the Met Orchestra years ago. And so when I was a student, she would give me standing passes and I would come up from Philadelphia to New York to see the operas.
That's phenomenal. So do you remember what your first opera was that you listened to?
My first opera at the Met, or?
Well, I don't know, or maybe just the first one that you ever were exposed to.
That was probably Don Giovanni.
Interesting.
I was exposed to that. And the first one that I saw live was Manon Lescaut in Philadelphia.
Wow.
And then the first opera I saw at the Met was Tosca, back in 86, I think it was. Yeah, so that was a while ago.
And back then, at least at the Met in the 80s, there were no titles.
There were no titles, no.
Because I think it came in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
And even though you were young, and I assume didn't speak Italian, something about the music pulled you in.
Absolutely. I mean, just the sounds that human voices were making without microphones, and just the beauty of the music. It was it spoke to me, you know.
Wow. Yeah. That's fantastic. I didn't hear an opera till I was in college.
Oh wow.
I never really knew what it was, and I didn't hear it, and you know, I thought it was this very strange art form at first, but then I fell in love with it. But it's funny, and then we have so many young people around the world. As you see, some of the jokes are from New Delhi. We've got Buenos Aires, so it's great to, I think, get exposed to these things when you're young.
Right.
Okay. So I think the next question is about your very first opera, but I think it's about ones that you performed in. So let's hear that next question, Dan.
Hi, my name's Ellie and I'm from Lisbon, Portugal. My question for Eric is, what's the very first opera you performed in?
Oh, wow. What was my very first opera I performed in? It was an opera by Cavalli called Legisto. And I played the part of Knight. And then there were these two characters called Dawn and Night, and I was Knight. Yeah.
I
And
was
that
going
was
to ask, were you knight as in like with armor or knight
right.
in the time?
As in the night sky. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I don't know that opera, but that's fun.
Yeah.
Was that at Temple or?
That was at Temple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And for those of you that don't know, Temple University is a fantastic school, also located in Philadelphia. Big, really great school. Fun. All right. So, Dan, give us our next question because this is from Ellie's sister.
Hi, my name is Lucia and I live in Lisbon, Portugal. My questions for Eric are, what is your favorite opera that you have not performed in? And what is your favorite opera that you have performed in at the Metropolitan Opera?
Wow. Those are good questions. An opera that I've not performed in that I absolutely love is Wagner's Parsifal. It's just, it's such an amazing and musical and spiritual journey, and I adore it, and hopefully one day I'll be able to be in it. And the favorite opera I've sung in at the Met is probably, I want to say.
Oh.
You there?
Yes, I'm back. Yeah.
Hello.
You're here. I hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Okay, but I can hear you.
I'm going to go out and come back in.
Okay, go out and come back in, and we'll get the answer to what Eric's favorite opera that he's performed in at the Met. So I'm going to tell you a little story about Parsifal. The first time I ever worked on Parsifal was at the Lyric in Chicago. And my older daughter was 11 at the time, and you were 8. And that was their first opera. The 11-year-old came with my 8-year-old at the time and my husband. And I told them to come to the Prelude because it's really beautiful. I was telling a story about Parsifal that it was my 11 and at the time 8-year-old's first opera.
Wow.
The 8-year-old and my husband raced out of there after Act 1. They were like, more. But the 11-year-old refused to leave.
Wow.
Lyric in Chicago, and she was like, I love it. I'm not moving. So
that's awesome.
Isn't that funny?
That's awesome.
All right. So, Eric, tell us now your favorite opera that you performed in at the Met.
I want to say it was Goethe Dämmerung.
That's a great.
Yeah, I did Hagen in Goethe Dämmerung, and it was such a satisfying role to sing, and also it's fun to be the bad guy. You know, Hagen's the bad guy. And
so when you say a satisfying role to sing, is it about like the lines of the music? Is it about the character? Like what
the character and the music, the way it's written, it's very bel canto. Even though he's the bad guy, he has to spend most of the night trying to be convincing that he's actually the good guy.
Right.
And he's manipulating people. But the way Wagner's written his music, it's very linear and bel canto, and it was really, really enjoyable.
That's fantastic. I never thought of that character that way, but that makes so much sense because he's pretending the whole time to be the nice guy. So when Wagner wrote his lines, he said like this sort of gentle soul. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. All right, let's see. Our next question. Oh, this is good because last season at the Met, of course, you sang in Porgy and Bess, and the end of the season prior, we were doing the ring cycle.
Right.
And this next question is from somebody who saw both. So let's hear their question.
Hello, my name is Maya, and I'm from Canada. I have 2 questions for Mr. Eric Owens. I saw you at the Met in Das Rheingold by Wagner and in Porgy and Bess earlier this year. You were fantastic in both, but which one is the most challenging to sing in for you, and which one is your favorite for you to sing in? My last question is, have you ever had stage fright before? Thank you.
Okay, so she was between Porgy and Bess
and Das Rheingold.
Wow, they're so different. They're so different. I don't know if I can pick one.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what is challenging about each of those roles. Maybe that's how to approach it. So for Rheingold, tell us some of the things that are challenging for you in singing that. Now, this last time we did the ring, were you in Rheingold?
I was not in Rheingold, but I was in the Götterdämmerung and did Hagen. But the previous time I did Rheingold and I did Alberisch, and one of the challenges is there's a lot of text. Wagner likes to do a lot of tongue twisters and a lot of alliteration. And so sometimes just getting all of that text out, that's just it almost sounds like an auction, you know.
Alberisch, right?
Yes.
He's exactly the opposite of Hagen in so many ways, right? He's
exactly
like really rooted to the earth, and you know, he's sort of this other type of creature, and he's talking and manipulating and moving quickly, and that's so different from Hagen.
Yeah.
And so different from Porgy.
Right. Absolutely.
Language, right? But also, you know, the character, Porgy, is super smart, but he moves at a different pace.
Right.
Alberisch.
Definitely. And what's difficult about Porgy, I mean, to sort of maintain stamina throughout the opera because of Porgy's disability, and having the energy to be able to walk around on the crutch and to sing, it can prove challenging. And also the way Gershwin wrote the role, it seems Porgy's going along and he's in one part of his voice for most of the night, and then towards the very end he turns into a full-on baritone.
Right.
And so it gets, you know, it's
really high.
The tessitura, we call, where the voice lies for the most part, is almost a third higher or even a fourth higher, and so coming at the end of the evening, you know, you have to make sure you pace it well, and so you have enough stamina to get through. You know.
So that word tessitura, you know, I hear it a lot. Can you said it's the word that we use to talk about like a role and where it lies in your voice. Is that what that means?
Yeah, where the bulk of the role is written, and if it's, you know, if it's in the higher part of your voice for most of the night, you have to make sure that, first of all, that it's a role for you, and or if it sits very low, you have to maybe not warm up as much as you would. But yeah, but where the area or the intervals, the grouping of notes where it lies for most of the opera is what the tessitura is.
No, that's great. That's a great explanation.
Yeah.
And do you look at a role before you decide, okay, whether or not you're going to sing it? I assume you look at like, what's the highest note? What's the lowest note? And then I guess you have to look at how it's scored? How is it written? Is this the way my voice moves? Are those all questions that you ask?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to know if you might have the range. You might be able to sing the lowest note and the highest note, but everything in between might not be for you. and also, the whole tessitura thing comes into play as well, and or if it moves a lot, and if it has a lot of coloratura or furitura, if they're very fast notes, can you do that? I mean, I used to be able to do that quite well, but now, that's not necessarily what I'm known for and where my strengths lie.
Okay, so I was going to say, like, Javier Camarena and I talked last week, and he's still doing a lot of that kind of repertoire where there's lots of notes, it's moving really fast. And he was talking about how he's working towards like French repertoire next, which will slow his voice down, open it up a little bit.
Right.
It does seem like that's often a natural progression in a singer's life, right? Depending, of course, you never know. You have to check in with your voice. How's it going? But a lot of, I know, tenors and young singers start, with a lot of Mozart, things that move a lot, and then they slowly open up to having a bigger sound that is more sustained, I guess.
Yeah, that's what happened with me. I mean, I used to sing quite a bit of Rossini, and Rossini doesn't really figure in my repertoire right now, but I used to do a lot of Handel, and I'll still sing Mozart and what have you, but that was the progression that I went through, and but yeah, I mean, and in other cases you'll see people where their voice was lying in a certain part, and they either move down or they move up. Their voice might get higher. If you might have a mezzo soprano who then starts singing higher repertoire and starts doing soprano stuff, and so but each person is different, and you have to tailor make it to what your abilities are at any given time.
And what your voice feels. And did you start with like more of a baritone and move into the bass baritone repertoire?
No, I was a bass.
Wow.
And I still sing bass repertoire, but my tessitura moved up a bit, and I could start to handle things that were a little higher.
It's so interesting to me, and of course how you do it safely and carefully, and
Right.
and so that's such a huge part, as especially campers who are thinking about singing. Like, we always talk about, get a great teacher. You have to trust how you feel, make sure
Right.
that it's working for you. It's such a key part of having a long, healthy career, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to shoot the moon and be done in 5 years.
Right. Absolutely. Just how I was talking about having stamina within one opera, one has to have one ideally wants a longevity across a long career over years. So yeah, a good voice teacher and really knowing what your voice can do is all a part of it.
Yeah. Okay. Diane, I think we've got, this is an interesting question, and this will take us a little bit into Rusalka. So
okay.
We'll check.
Hello, my name is Amara, and I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I got 2 questions for you. What is the hardest part to sing in Rusalka, and how do you prepare for a performance?
The hardest thing about Rusalka, I think, is the Czech language. Not having grown up, being around Czech. I mean, so that's where the most of the preparation lies. I mean, and within that, the vocalism that one can achieve in a specific language, the language informs pretty much everything else. The musicality, the phrasing, and it's something, you ideally want to sound as authentic as possible, and so they're wonderful coaches at the Met who coached us just on the check, and it was just, and I never begrudged a coach coming up here. Let me come here. Let me show you something, or let me, this should be pronounced this way. It's like, please tell me, please tell me.
And when you start, I found the same thing. I think I'd only done one other opera in Czech, and it was so challenging for me. How do you start by translating it? And of course we have to, because I don't read the letters, so we do like a transliteration.
Transliteration. Yeah, there's you definitely want to translate the whole thing first, and then using IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, that over several languages, there are these symbols for each sound, and so that's how I would learn it, and hopefully I did a decent job.
I think so. I mean,
yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting we talk sometimes about like study languages, that's such a great thing to do when you're young. If you're thinking about a career in opera, really, if you're thinking about any part of a career in opera, whether it's directing, designing, singing, it's really helpful to have different languages. And we usually talk about Italian, German, French.
Right.
But if you have a facility with languages and you can add in like Czech or Russian, having the ability to do those pronunciations properly, really and reading the Cyrillic alphabet can really take you a nice leap forward. Plus, we work with lots of people from Russia and from, all over the Slovak countries. And it's nice, if you can speak some, it's great. Here's Kaylee saying she loves to study other languages. Fantastic. It's such a great thing. And it opens up your world in a way that is really helpful.
Absolutely.
So, tell us a little bit about how you prepare the day of a performance. I always like to hear what people's rituals are. So let's say it's an evening performance. So what's your day like?
My day is usually even though my intention will be to sleep late, I'll probably get up early. And so I'm up early and, have some breakfast and then maybe read a little and maybe take a walk, but not really doing much that's strenuous or anything. And I like to get to the opera house very early. Sometimes I'm there as early as 3 hours before curtain, just because I like to absorb the energy of the building, if that makes any sense, and to warm up very slowly and over the course of a couple of hours and just get grounded and I mean, I don't want to be running in the door right before my makeup call. I want to have been there, and sometimes I'll bring my music with me. I have a little portable speaker, and then I'll just sort of chill out in the dressing room and listen to music. And and it's hopefully it's a very calm day.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not running around doing a million errands or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's relaxed.
Yeah.
Of course, especially if you're up early, your big part of your energy, you need to reserve it in a way for the evening, right?
Absolutely.
You get so much, that's why it's so strange right now when we can't do live performance. But I think we all feed off of the energy of the audience, but it doesn't really work if you're depleted when you walk on stage.
Right. I mean, it's not up to them to give you absolutely all your energy.
Right.
But there is an energy factor from the audience that's really important.
Yeah.
That's so important. Yeah.
And when you warm up, do you have a ritual for it that you do every time? does it depend on the role that you're singing? What's
It
the
it
process?
depends on the role. If it's something that sits high, I want to be able to take my time and to really start in the middle of my voice and then massage my way up to the top and go in and out of the top and make sure that there's a comfort level and warm up until there's a comfort level with the top. If it's something that's a bass role, sometimes I only have to warm up for 10 minutes. Sometimes you just know that it's there, and depending on the day, I mean, but we talked about what I do the day of, but almost as important as the day before, and making sure that you get to sleep at a decent hour, and so that your voice gets time to rest and rejuvenate. And I mean, sometimes I'll walk into the dressing room and I'll start singing, and I think to myself, okay, wow, this is going to be a slog, so I need to warm it up a lot. And I'll be in there singing for an hour or more until it can get to that point where it's very malleable and can do what I ask of it. Yeah.
So we have a question that just popped up from Saskia Willie. What is the lowest and highest note you can sing?
I have sung a low B flat. That's below low C. I can sing a tenor's high B flat.
Whoa, that's amazing.
Now, do I live in those places? No, I can visit.
And, you were talking earlier about how Porgy is such a challenge because he sits in this lower tessitura through most of the night, and then
Right.
he starts to get higher towards the end. So Hudson, wow. Do you warm up for the first part of the night and leave it there, and then maybe at intermission play with the high? Or how do you?
I warm up for the first part of the night, and then the act of singing the opera is also warming your voice up too.
Right.
And so by the time we get to the end, it's kind of sitting in a place where that the higher positioning won't be, it'll be somewhat comfortable. But sometimes you have to go on when you're not feeling well.
Right.
And then sometimes you're out there sort of trying to make sure that you navigate your voice in a way that can get the job done. But sometimes, things don't go the way you plan them. And when if and when that happens, you just have to forget about it. You have to keep going. You have to, okay, that note didn't sound the way I wanted to sound, but I can't dwell on it because or else the rest of them won't sound like it either.
Right. Right. We were talking about this, that you don't get a pause. Like in opera, if you forget something, it's gone.
Right. There are no do-overs.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're doing bel canto and you come back to the A sec, and then you do it with ornaments. You're like, I get another shot at this. Or
Right.
if you're doing Handel. But if it's through composed, it's just like, that's that.
That's it. You got to go. And that's such a great lesson for life, really.
Yeah.
You have to work your way through things, and you're going to stumble and we're going to make mistakes.
Right.
And then take a pause when you can and think through those and question what might I have done better. But in the moment, you got to stay focused. So here's a question from Swati Pathak. I hope I'm not butchering your name too badly. How do you remember everything? Like when you go backstage in between, do you revise? Oh, do you go over your lines?
I mean, it depends. As far as our lines go, I mean, we have the luxury of music being attached to our lines, and so that makes it easier to remember. But yeah, I mean, depending on what the role is, sometimes I'll go over the lines, especially if it's one of the Wagner operas where it's 5 hours long, and you just want to make sure that you got it all in there. But there are times when you might be forgetful, and at the Met and in certain other opera houses, we have what is called a prompter. There's a little person in a little box in the middle of the stage, at the foot of the stage, who will feed us a line if we need it, or they can act as a second conductor if things are getting off ensemble wise, or the togetherness of what everybody's doing is off. They can also be a closer conductor who can hear what's going on and see what's going on and help everything stay together.
And they're right there so they can see the panic in your face.
Right.
They know what's happening. They're so close,
Right.
right hand signals that they've rehearsed with you in the room.
Right.
They're in there the whole time.
Right.
So Rebecca Baslov writes, actually, I've heard prompters on some Met Opera recordings. Are they always prompting or only when singer signs that they have forgotten the words? That's a great question, and it's true. Sometimes you can hear them. Most prompters have established in the room rehearsals how they're going to prompt, whether it's going to be every line. Many singers will be like, you know what, I would rather not have you prompt here, but could you please really, do it here?
Right.
Right? Like, I think it just depends on the piece and
absolutely
what the needs of the singers are. Most prompters in big chorus shows prompt the whole time for the chorus.
Right.
And they're often like holding the tenors and cueing in the sopranos, like they're, as you were saying, acting as an extra conductor.
Absolutely.
Again, in opera, if you miss a line, you miss a line. So if there's a part of the piece where you didn't, as a singer, said, no, I don't need prompting here, and then some night you go up on it, the prompter will jump in and help get you back on.
Absolutely.
They're like on it.
Yeah, they know the score better than anybody.
Yeah, they really do. It's such an impressive job.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, I think we have some more video questions. Let's take one.
Okay.
Hi, Eric. It's Leo Van Yarsveld from Vancouver, BC. I was wondering if there was any similarities or differences from playing Alberich in The Ring and playing the Water Goblin in Rusalka. Bye.
Well, the biggest similarity that just comes to mind is that they're both creatures of the water. They are very much, that's their home, and as far as the writing of the role, like I was saying before, Albrecht has a lot of words, and that come very fast. But there are moments where he gets to sing lyrically, but those are mostly moments when he's mocking the gods or talking about godly things. He takes on their musical persona, and that's some of the most satisfying music for me. Yeah.
And in Rusalka, and I know we have a picture, I know in this production, you spend a little bit of time in a trap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your own little, you guys campers can see how Eric's like.
Oh, look at the look on my face.
Yeah, look at that, I know. And that's with all the water nymphs. And
right.
You spend a lot of time like halfway out. And is that hard, easy? Like, is it more fun? Is it?
No, it's fine. I mean, the only thing but it's probably great for the audience because I'm forced to have to look up so the people up high can get more of, of my face and the sound. But actually, it's a great place to be sound-wise because you're near the platform of the stage, and it sort of, as a sounding board, can bounce your sound off of the stage and out into the house even.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And can you hear yourself better because you have that immediate?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
I know a lot. I mean, as Eric mentioned earlier, and you guys, you're all you know this now in the opera world, that the singers don't sing with microphones. So the thought of, especially at the Met, it's a 3,800 seat house. So singers they are thinking about, well, how does my sound get out there? And physically, where am I in the space to help? What's helping get my sound out there, right? Like
Right.
can play a really important part. If you have something behind you, it helps press the sound forward. As you were saying, I never even thought of that, but being closer to the stage floor helps the sound bounce forward. And that's just, that's one of those hidden things that we don't really talk about much. But
Right.
singers, you guys really, number one, you want to be able to hear so that you're in tune, right? That's something you're concentrating on. But also you want to make sure that you don't oversing. You want to feel confident in the sound you're producing, knowing that it's getting out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. It's joke o'clock.
Joke o'clock.
All right. So you're going to read one more,
Okay.
and then Carmela's going to tell us a joke she's got.
Alrighty.
All right. Let's see. We got.
This is Ishan from Seattle, Washington. What do you call a cow that can play a musical instrument? Oh, I think I know the answer to this
All
one.
right.
A musician.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. All right, Carmela, you going to tell us?
So here's my joke. Why is it so hard to be friends with an opera singer? Because it's all about me, 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 me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you. Thanks, Ishan. All right. Now I know we have a few more video questions, so I want to get to some of those.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Victoria, and I am from Maine in the U.S. My question for Eric is, what do your vocal warm-ups look like? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we've talked a little bit about what they're like, but we haven't talked specifically. So maybe you can give us put us through a vocal warm-up.
Usually I start low my voice on an ah vowel, and I might go, and go up the scale, and then maybe go back and forth between two different vowels, like and different combinations of that sort of thing. Yeah.
I find it so amazing to hear you just throw off a few notes like that.
Oh yeah, and I haven't sung in a while, so. Yeah.
But to hear and Carmela actually sings a little bit with the YPC chorus.
Oh, wonderful.
But to hear you that resonance, and just now on your computer tossing off a few notes, it's really amazing. And so when you do that, when you start to warm up, are you focused on how it feels, how the sound is resonating out or inside of you? What are you focused on?
Oh, it's a combination of both, but how it feels it has a lot to do with how it feels and the ease of what I'm hearing. If it feels a little labored or sounds a little labored to me, then I know it's going to be a longer warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to do a lot with how it feels with me.
Okay.
And so getting it to the point where how it feels and how it sounds are on sort of an equal plane. You want there to be an ease to it. But if that ease doesn't come and you decide you're still going to sing that night, then you have to go by what certain things feel like and as close a proximity of what what you think the normal sensation should be. And
Uh-huh.
so it'll be by what it feels like more than what it sounds like. Because if you start trying to give so much to make it sound in your ears the way you want it to sound, and there's a labored quality to it, you can start pushing and doing damage. And so you want to, there's sort of a zone that you should stay in as far as how it feels. So you don't, especially if you don't think it's sounding the way you think it sounds, because we don't hear what the audience hears.
Right.
It's like that thing of when you first hear yourself on a tape recorder, you're like, is that what I sound like? It's quite a different thing. So, if you're having a night like that, you trust the people around you, and they say, no, it sounds fine. And then you're just like, okay, I gotta trust it.
So then
Trust
you use like all that experience that you have, all
Right.
the hours of rehearsal and singing, and you say, all right, I'm going to produce the sound technically the way I know I do.
Right.
I'm going to trust all the people, the conductor, the prompter, who are saying it sounds fine.
Right.
And I'm not going to think too hard about it.
Right. Hopefully.
That's so much of what you guys do, right? That's
Yeah.
right. So here's a nice question from Asahi and Solari Fernandez. How do you take care of your voice after a performance?
After a performance, it's you don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time, talking too loudly. But after a performance, the big thing is, sort of coming down off of the high of the performance, and it usually takes a while to get to sleep.
I was going to say, what time do you go to bed after?
It's usually about 3:30.
Yeah.
And so just and not to get upset that you're not sleeping. You just know that, this is the time where I need to allow myself to wind down, and then hopefully then the following day you can have an easy day of it.
And one thing for opera singers, we don't perform every day. Like, we don't do what Broadway does, where you're 8 days or 8 performances a week.
Right.
So most of the time you've got a performance. Now at the Met, as we've talked about campers in the past, because we're a repertory theater, Eric might be singing Porgy and at night, and he might have a rehearsal for something else the next day. We try really hard not to make you have a morning rehearsal the next day. That doesn't always happen, but that's where knowing your voice and knowing that, hey, I'm not going to sing today. Like, if you have a rehearsal or a costume fitting, you come in, but you try to just take it easy. You don't sing too much. You don't talk too much.
Absolutely.
Give yourself some rest, and hopefully you get a full day off.
Right.
I think we have a couple more video questions still. So let's see if we can pop one of those in.
Hello, my name is Marius, and I'm from Prince Edward Island, Canada. And so you're playing a father in Rusalka, but you're not a human. You're a creature, So you still have the same emotions for Rusalka. You're a father, but you're not exactly a human. So did you try to act anything out to make it look like you're different, because you're not a human? Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Even though we're not human, I'm playing a character that's not human, but it has to be based on human emotions, because even though I'm a creature, I'm singing in a language that humans speak. And so I'm getting across my emotions and what I'm feeling through words. And if it were only just sounds and grunts, maybe that would be one thing. But there you can find a humanity. I mean, when you think about, well, even in the animal world, I mean, as far as being a parent, the thing they want to do is to protect their children. And so that's not just a human thing. That's an animal thing as well. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think, with costuming, there's suggestions of your extra, you the gloves that you wear make it look like you have sort of pads instead of fingers.
Right.
But I think, and that's such a great question. We do tend to approach these characters from our own humanity. And that's really our only option in a way, unless the production really calls for you to be in water, which we suggest water, and
Right.
so it's such a fun challenge. All right, we've got 3 more video questions, so I want to make sure we get those in our last 5 minutes. All right, Dan, cue it.
Hello, my name is Joe. I am from Hanau in Germany, and my question for Eric is, how do you deal with self-doubt, or how have you dealt over the course of your career with self-doubt as an artist?
Self-doubt. That's, as an artist, that's something that doesn't necessarily go away. I mean, with experience, you can have more confidence, and the more you're out there on the stage, the more you know about yourself, and the more that you can rise to the occasion. But I mean, if we're always wanting to get better, we're always going to question what it is we're doing. And, and so that self-examination, I mean, the self-doubt, the antidote for that is to keep working to get better.
Right, we strive to be
to be better, even though, I have from, every 4 months I'm thinking, okay, now I think I know what I'm doing, but I mean, but it's so human to doubt yourself, but what overcomes that is making sure that you're always trying to get better, and doing the things that you need to do to achieve that.
That's great. What is the most challenging character you've ever played, and why?
Oh, I played a character called Grendel from Beowulf. It was an opera by Elliot Goldenthal, and Julie Taymor was the director, and I was on stage pretty much the whole night. It was very physically demanding and vocally demanding, but it was a great time, and I found out more about myself during that role than I was able to do things that I didn't necessarily know I was capable of doing.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, do we have a couple more video questions?
Hi, my name is Kairit. I'm from Estonia, and my question for Erik is, have you ever felt like you don't want to do your job anymore?
Have I ever felt like I don't want to do this job anymore? Yeah. I mean, there have been times when, the lifestyle that accompanies being a freelancer is such that, there's a lot of traveling involved. And sometimes that can get a little wearisome, being away from your loved ones for long periods of time, and that sort of thing. That part of it I wanted to leave behind, and I joke a lot saying, they need to come up with that Star Trek beaming technology real quick, so you can beam home to your own bed every night.
Yes, and you track the whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah. Here's a question: do you enjoy singing modern operas such as L'amour de Loin?
Yeah, I mean, modern operas can be very challenging, but when the finished product is such that it all comes together, it can be quite rewarding as well. and yeah, I'm not doing as much of that as I used to, but it has played quite a big part in my career. Contemporary opera and several world premieres, and so yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the challenges with modern pieces is you learn a role. It takes a long time to learn a role, and then you don't always get to do it again, right? Like
Right.
one of the things about this career that makes it a little bit more, palatable at times is you have roles in your repertoire and you get to sing those many times in your career, and what that does is it gives you that opportunity to strive to do it a little differently, a little better, a little, oh, I can play with this aria, I know it so much better now. Like, and when you do a lot of modern operas, sometimes you get the world premiere and then they don't get done again, and it
Right.
feels like a lot of work for the beauty of bringing a new piece into the world, but then how does it keep in your career? And so it's always, I think, a balancing act. Certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. So we have one more video question. So let's have that one. And then.
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. My question for Eric Owens is, why do you love the opera so much?
Well, I fell in love with opera at a young age, and at the beginning it was about the music, but opera is an art form that encompasses so many other art forms. There's music, there's singing, there's dance, there's the poetry of the libretto, there's the scenery, there's the visual arts are incorporated in, and all these different things coming together and making something greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, it's just it's thrilling, and it's sort of the last pure thing as far as being unplugged.
Right. I mean,
That's
really what I feel like that, because so much of our lives now we're wearing headphones, we're listening to music, but this, when you go and you hear it live, it takes you to a different place.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah. And I would love, maybe some of you guys can put in the chat why you love opera so much. I mean, you're all spending your summers doing a summer camp, and I would love to see some of you talk about why you're here with us. So I want to thank you, Eric, so much for giving us your time, Christina Ibarra.
Thanks, Christina.
You. And all these video questions, they were fantastic. They just helped us drive our conversation. I want to remind everybody that you can start watching the opera in about 5 hours from now, and you'll have 48 hours to watch it. Remember, tomorrow is Career Corner with Mary Zimmerman, who directed Rusalka. And if you want your questions answered, shoot us a video question. It's so wonderful. Oh, Mariusz says, opera makes me feel like home. That's really a beautiful way to talk about what opera does for you. That's fantastic. I love it because every weekend my grandma, it jumped away from me. My grandma and I watch opera. That was from Leo von Jaarsveld. Clara is, I'm here because I love, I didn't say it. Well, I'll read it later. But Saskia says, opera fills my soul with peace and comfort and helps me escape the challenging reality. That's so nice. Yeah. And it's such a balm for all of us at this challenging time in the world. So for me personally, Eric, it was really nice to see your face for a whole
year. Yeah, it's great to see you too.
Myself. It was really nice.
Thanks, Noelle.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And thank you, Carmela, for reading some jokes for us. Thanks to all you campers. I hope you enjoy Rusalka. It's such a fun fairy tale, and it will take you out of the reality. And Eric, stay safe, stay healthy.
You too.
And campers, I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.